The short answer is no. And no matter where I searched, I found the same answer. Rent control does not work.
The affordable housing crisis in America is a national issue. There's nowhere that is immune from it, but it's especially acute in places like Manhattan and big cities, where to my left you have public housing and right to my right, $6 million apartments for sale.
There might be disagreement on cause. There's certainly disagreement on solutions. But there's a unanimity of opinion that the United States is in the midst of a housing crisis.
So rent control does not seem to be the solution, but clearly we have a heart. We want to help people in their time of need. We want to help make sure that people have affordable housing to both rent and buy. If we look at what happened in Argentina, we actually had a libertarian president come in and he got rid of rent control. And what we saw was absolutely amazing. Within 1 month, we saw a surge of inventory hit in the market. It went from about 5,500 listings to over 15,300 listings in total. And the main reason is that previously with rent control, you had a property, you could have rented it out, but if you were going to lose money, what's the point? You're almost better off holding on to it. We saw a huge surge of inventory come onto the market. Once that surge of inventory came into the market, we actually start to see rental rates come down. So getting rid of rent control actually increases rental supply, as a lot of investors and homeowners are willing to list their properties at a market rent. But we see there's a lot of pushback against builders to build more housing. Like what we saw there in Minnesota, when construction stops, it actually makes everything much more unaffordable. So we actually need more construction. We need more housing being built. That's the number one way to solve the affordability problem, is we need to build more housing. The type of housing we build is also very important.
Take a look at this map of the Bay Area. It's showing something called zoning, or local regulations that decide what can be built where. This much of the region is zoned for residential housing. In blue are areas zoned to allow multifamily housing, while the areas shaded in pink are zoned for single-family housing only. That's 82% of all residential land in the Bay Area.
What it means is that you've banned the ability for anyone to build anything other than a single unit of housing on that lot of land.
And in many towns, like Atherton, they've excluded all multifamily housing from their neighborhoods.
And that doesn't just mean a giant apartment building. It means things like duplexes, things like, fourplexes, things like that are illegal in the majority of the country.
The real solution is to do more infill development.
How can cities encourage infill development? Cities can rezone or upzone land. Rezoning means changing a zone from, say, residential to mixed use. Rezoning for mixed use gives developers more flexibility and can encourage new projects. Upzoning means keeping the same basic use, say residential, but allowing more of it than before. An R1 residential zone may allow for 4 dwelling units per acre, while an R2 may allow for 12 or more. Cities across my state are rezoning strip malls, auto dealerships, unused industrial areas, and more to include allowed uses like housing and retail. In San Jose, a city known for its swaths of single-family home zoning, the city started a program to create little walkable downtowns by rezoning strip malls and low-density commercial areas.
If you look at all the solutions, we're saying, hey, we got to build more housing, we got to increase density, we got to increase transportation, making sure people can get to work and back easier. And we got to make sure that we make areas more landlord friendly. That's how you get more supply into the market. And so what we're looking at right here is an example of the type of communities we should be building more. This is actually a build to rent community here in Jacksonville. And it's exactly what tenants are looking for. But here's the shocker. If you look at the average rents in New York City, the average 2-bedroom apartment in New York City is $5,500. That's a 2-bedroom in New York City, $5,500. One of the things that we don't talk about enough is that we should be encouraging more mobilization. When you're paying $5,500 a month, you can't expect to be in a city that's affordable. When you're looking at a market rate of $5,500, that's an expensive city. And so I'll ask you this, and I'm a first generation American. My parents immigrated to the country. My wife immigrated here. I'm someone that benefited from movement. So I'm talking about this from a sense of pride of constantly looking for the best opportunities for me and my family. And I think moving is a part of that. If you told me that I lived in a crime infected area, that there was crime all over the place, I would look to move. If I wasn't getting paid enough at work, I would talk to my manager and I didn't get my increase, I would look to move. So we're having the same conversation. We're talking about a place that's unaffordable. If you live in a place that's unaffordable, you should look to move. So we're going to dive deeper into what type of places should you move into. Or if you're a renter, the quadplexes we just saw, again, the average 2-bedroom in New York is $5,500. When you compare that to one of our quadplexes, which is the same thing that we just saw, our rents are substantially cheaper. For all 4 units, our rent is only $5,243. If you do the math and divide it by 4, you're basically paying $1,310 in comparison. So we're saying over $5,000 in New York to $1,300 here in Jacksonville, Florida for the same 2-2. And as I just showed you, this actually looks a whole lot better. So if you actually break that down and you calculate the difference, you're going to be saving about $2,672. If you save just $1,000 a month, well, very quickly, you can become a homeowner and actually buy a property. Again, you're moving out of your expensive area, moving into a place that's more affordable, and you're saving your money so you can hopefully become a home buyer. So we're saving you a lot in rent, which is obviously a key benefit, but ultimately the goal should be to become a homeowner. Well, you can actually buy that same quadplex that you were previously renting out. Let's go ahead and do the math. So this quadplex is currently selling for $820,000. If you multiply that by 0.05, you're going to pay $40,000 to actually buy a quadplex as an owner occupied. You're paying 5% down to buy a quadplex. So $40,000 gets you a quadplex in Jacksonville, Florida. And obviously you can go even cheaper. So we have duplexes that are $450,000. Obviously that's going to be a lot cheaper. That's going to be about $22,000 down to buy a duplex in Jacksonville, Florida. If you save that $1,000 each and every month, remember, you were paying $5,000 plus. Now you're paying $1,300. You can save $1,000 a month now. If you just save $1,000 for 2 years, you're going to have over $24,000. That's more than enough now to buy this duplex. Here's the thing. So when we think about investors, we think about build to rent. We always think about some large conglomerate, where our average investor is a small mom and pop investor. Typically, they own less than 100 homes. And so a lot of times they're buying duplexes and quads just like this, and they're buying them as owner occupied. Are they investing? Yes, but that's a great thing. I'll be thrilled if my son, my daughter, if they bought a quadplex, lived in it for a year, then moved out, had all 4 units rented out. That's a phenomenal proposition. And I would actually rather someone who's currently struggling, paying a whole bunch of rent in New York City, buy something like this and actually improve the quality of their life and improve their financial situation. Guys, I want to thank you for watching the video all the way through to the end. If you want to get more information, go to buildtorent.com. Love to hear from you. Leave your comments below. I know it's a difficult subject to talk about, but I wanted to bring this to your attention because they are solutions in mind, but they're going to be different than what you may think of. The solution for affordability is actually building more new construction housing, making sure it's cheaper so people can save money on a monthly basis, and ultimately we want them to become homeowners. That's the cycle. The goal is to become homeowners. If you're trapped in a New York City apartment that's rent control, you're never going to own anything.